Stewart.
Depends if you've got an accent on
Yeah, I'll say Stewart.
it.
Yep.
That's fine.
Cool. Peter Stewart, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Good to be back.
Yeah, I do come back a couple of times during the year, but the ranks are getting pretty thin.
Yeah. Well, it's the way it goes these days, isn't it? We all get older, unfortunately. But
Good to see the club, coming back with a bit of strength and having some on-field success, which is good. Last few years have been hard.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's good that you're coming back and showing your face. Let's get on your career at Hadfield a little bit. You're a premiership player at 18 in the first ever season of the Hadfield Football Club in 1971. Tell us a little bit about the lead up to that season. Did you get the sense that you had a side that in their first year of senior football could challenge for a premiership?
No, we just played footy.
Yeah.
We were playing because we were under 17. Half that team was under 17 the previous year.
Yeah, wow.
And then we were mates. We just stuck together and then just come down and play footy.
Yeah.
Right? But there was, I'll go on about the Merlston boys. I think there were 6 guys.
So Merlston had a football club back then?
Merlston had a football team back then.
Yeah.
Played in, I think it was a Metropolitan League. And they were a very strong club. And those guys went to Merlston, played there. Then when we got our senior side up, they wanted to come back. So Merlston made them stand out for 6 weeks before they cleared them. So it was 6 weeks into the season. I can't remember if we won a game or not.
Wow.
We must.
Didn't have some of your best players.
But that was amazing. But when at Merlston, Ray Camilleri and Jackie Bowes dominated over there, and I think Jack won the competition best and fairest, and Ray might have been second or something.
Yeah.
As Ray won, and having missed 6 games, he still won the club best and fairest in that year. And Robbie Ray was second.
Wow.
At 18. Robbie had just turned 18 in the September.
Fair play, isn't it?
Oh, he could play. He is a good player. Yeah, very skillful.
And talk to us about that day in 1971 when you became premiers. What are your memories? I know you said your memory's gone a bit these days, but I'm sure you got some recollection of the day.
It was, well, on the morning of I didn't play in the prelim because I had the flu. On the morning of the grand final, Maxie Painting, Jack Bowes and Camo come around to my parents' house and said, get your gear. I was still in my PJs and the dressing gown and shit,
Had you been training that week?
No. I hadn't trained for 2 weeks, but I was just cooking.
Had you been in contact? I know it's different these days. I know mobile phones back then. Had you been in contact with the coaches, or they just rocked up at your doorstep in the
Just
morning?
rocked up and said, get your gear, you have to play.
Wow.
So you just did it. You just did. You did what Max said. Max Painting. If Max said run through that brick wall, you ran through that brick wall. You just had so much respect for the guy, And he wasn't spring chicken and he played football for Hattie after that as well. Played in some games. I mean, he was just Stevie Painting. There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
it leads me to my next question. It was about the great Max Painting. He was our first ever coach and our first ever premiership coach, obviously, and you must obviously have some fond memories going by what you just said about him.
He could get a message through to you. What he wanted. He never yelled and never abused players that I can recall. I don't think it was in his nature, but he just spoke about what you needed to do, and there wasn't that much planning in those days on field. He knew guys could do certain jobs. That's what he wanted you to do. And
it's kind of fitting that there's a bar named after him in Martin Reserve. I'm gathering he was good on the drink.
Yeah, he liked the name, Max. Yeah.
And after that grand final, what were the celebrations like in '71? Did you get your flares on, go to the disco, or what was the go back then?
Well, it was all down at Reddish, and it was just. Well, you want to talk about it? It was a drunken blur.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there were bodies laying everywhere the next morning. I don't think anybody went to work.
Wow, that's how it should
just
be.
back into it again,
Yeah.
And pretty much for that, you might have had some of us had a couple of days off, and then you met on the Thursday again, then you're just back into it again.
Some good times, I'm sure.
And the stories got more inventive.
Yeah.
I think everybody was a better player on the Thursday, not the following Thursday.
Well, that's the way it goes, isn't
It was
it?
amazing.
Well, speaking about stories and being inventive and getting better, you in 1974 won the best and fairest at Hadfield. Was that your best ever season, you reckon?
Oh, I thought it was 76.
Could be. You tell me.
I don't know. Have a look up.
We've got the honour ball behind us. There we go, 1976. Sorry about that.
76.
Ernie Drewy in 74. Sorry. My bad.
Boone's got a mortgage on the best affairs, hasn't he? There's another bloke who was
Well, I'm sure 74 was a good season for you anyway.
Oh, that might have been Bernie's first year. Yeah, but 76 was a good year, and Peter Williams and I, we played squash through the whole season, twice a week.
That's the recipe for success.
And we were just super fit.
Yeah.
Now Bash is not, well, his nickname was Bash, but he wasn't a Bash. There's a guy played at South Melbourne called Bash Williams.
Yeah.
So we just nicknamed Pete Bash. Just,
You're an inventive lot at Hadfield, weren't you?
Just taking a piss out of him. But, well, he's no longer with us now, Bash, but a bit sad.
And in 1979, so 3 years after you won the best and fairest, you were suspended for the 1979 grand final, which is obviously a premiership year for the club. Firstly, tell us what happened.
Well, we played Oak Park, and I remember the incident fairly clearly. One of their guys came in and picked up the ball and stood up, so I ran through him.
Yeah.
They
Seems like,
called an ambulance and
Yeah.
he went to hospital.
speaking of Alan Dalton before, it seems like we had a lot of good players back in the day get suspended before grand finals, but you said you got 6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah. That was 3. There was 3 home and home games, and then I missed the first 3 games of the following season.
Yeah.
And then
Finals.
all the finals. So.
Yeah, wow. Does it still sting missing out on 79? Because I'm not, in 71 you're 18, you probably didn't appreciate it as much as you might have.
Well,
8 years later.
I thought it was just going to roll on. We're going to win a premiership every year. That didn't happen.
Do you reflect on it
We lost
still?
a few close ones.
Do you reflect on it still? 79?
No.
No.
To be honest, they didn't need me to win the flag.
Yeah. Just a
Would have been
dominant
nice to
team.
be out there, but they didn't need me to win the flag. They were a gun side.
Yeah.
And they played it hard, and the other side wanted to get physical. We could get physical if you wanted to, you know.
Talk to us about some of those players from 79. Because you were looking on the day, and
Well,
obviously quite a strong team.
there was I was telling Whit there earlier that there were a couple of guys, Mark Duckworth and Ricky Searle, had an agreement that if we were behind at 3/4 time, we weren't going to lose the game.
Well, yeah, we just spoke to Alan Dalton, 25 points down at 3/4
So,
time.
we kicked 5 goals, and rest is history. But guys like Shane Duggan, he was pretty to watch to us. He was very good, you know. A bit like Pendlebury, you know what I mean? He just had
Class,
that.
time.
Yeah, very classy. Again, Robbie Ray played. There was a guy played our forward, John Cuff, you know, another classy player, you know. But as soon as when Alan went down with the shoulder, it probably didn't impact straight away. But then when he came back on and tried to play, I don't know what happened, but something just snapped, and you know, whether they probably thought they had it won. They probably tried to defend it totally.
Well, yeah, 4 goals up at 3/4 time, you're probably looking pretty, aren't
I
you?
would have put money on them
Yeah,
at that stage, because they were a good side too, Strathmore.
yeah.
Very good side.
Wow, it's unbelievable, isn't it? It's, a club such as Strathmore was rolled by Hadfield in a grand final. 4
Well,
goals up.
they would have been hurt, because we were always looked upon as a minnow club, as just a club that, you know, can play in A grade, but you're B grade perennials. That's where you belong. You know?
Yeah, well, it's very unusual for them to be in B grade, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
It's been a while since they've been in B grade.
yeah, well, 1980 onwards to 1982, you played in A grade, and then you retired in 1983. Did you get the sense that the club was going to have a sustained run at it during that period of the 80s, which was obviously capped off with the premiership in 1989?
No, well, we weren't really travelling that well. We'd look after 79, a few guys left. A lot of them were chasing money, and that hurts the club. When you're not in a strong financial position, and then when Crunch, probably nobody knows Guesty as Crunch. They know him was Papa Guest.
Yeah.
Well, his nickname was Crunch
Right.
because it's a biscuit.
Yeah, right.
The Guest biscuit was Crunch, so, you know. But he used to crunch a few blokes out on the ground. He wasn't an angel,
Yeah.
but he could play too.
Yeah.
Very good football and very good football brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, the club was struggling a bit. Then I think the last game when I finished in '83, we played West Coburg at their ground, and again, the league didn't want us in A grade. It was quite obvious, you know. It wouldn't matter, you know. And I don't like to be bitching about umpire and shit like that, but we always
You're talking to the wrong bloke about that.
We always had to, you know, beat aside by 6 or 7 goals to earn the win.
Right.
You know, if the game was in the balance, but they didn't want us in A grade at all.
Yeah.
You know, which is a pity because that's where the best standard was. You know, and a pretty good standard too.
And having spoken to Peter Whittle, you know, they knew who Hadfield was, those teams in A grade back in the day, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, we weren't a mongrel side. We just played it hard, and most Haddie sides have, from what I'm aware, and when I wasn't around the club in later years. But I always played it hard, and you just kept going, and that was the nature of the beast. If you played it hard, the opposition had respect for you.
Yeah.
We used to play Brunswick City years ago, before they fell in the hole after '77 against Avondale Heights. I've got to say, that was probably the best grand final I've ever seen for local footy. Brunswick City and Avondale Heights was brilliant. Then they disbanded the following year. But you'd play them, whether it was at Reddish or down at their ground at Pearson Street. And it'd be on for young and old in the game, not all the time, you know, but they had a few blokes there that didn't mind dishing it out. But after the game, you go in the rooms, you know, they'd bring a slam over straight after the game, you'd knock that over, then you go over to their rooms and have a drink with them for 3 or 4 hours.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Well, Stu, you're one of the great characters and loyal supporters of the club from what I can gather. It must be a special feeling now, 50 years and playing such a big part in it.
It is quite special. In the 50 years, yeah. Amazing. It's easy to work out because when I started, I was in the seniors, I was 17. Now I'm 67, so it's pretty easy to work out.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
that's good
I
maths.
hope I'll be around for the 60 years.
And I'm sure you've got a few words for anyone thinking about coming back on the night and getting involved in the 50 year celebration.
50 years only comes around once, guys, you know, and you don't have to come for long. Starts with the past players game. I'll catch up on the 22nd of May, which will be just wonderful. And then we've got the ball, you know, and don't leave it too late because the ranks are getting pretty thin.
Stu, well said. Been a pleasure having a chat. Legend and hero of Hadfield, so well done.
Pleasure to shake the hand of Roger Pell's son.